Why is education so important in the United States of America and globally? Go ahead, take 30 seconds while I set up. Yeah, I did that earlier. I don't know, I didn't read a lot about it. Graduate of Woodring College of Education, and I'm here to really talk about the power that came from coming to this university and my experiences here. Woodring offers the opportunity to engage with texts and professors and really learn about the research-based instructional practices that are so important. Like Francisco mentioned, I graduated with 260 credits, so I have a lot of professors to thank. But these are just a few of the people in the literacy department, professors in the literacy department that taught me so much about those research-based instructional practices. And Rosemary Vaz is not here tonight, but she's someone who I took her children's literature class, and we were required to read like 3,000 pages or something just crazy. And it was cramming and cramming and cramming, but little did I know that that would lead me to the success in the classroom later on. When it comes to math and science, we're in a place right now in education where math and science are critical. Other nations are outperforming us. So learning the instructional practices in math and science and how to integrate those practices with the literacy and create that comprehensive approach is really what I walked away from. So Dr. Chris Ohana was one of the science professors that taught me a lot about scientific methods and misconceptions students have, and so I really took that on as well and put it in my little toolkit. A big part of education currently is social justice and diversity. Dr. Carroll talked about being in inner urban New York City and what it was like in the 1970s, and I remember thinking, oh, I can see myself there. I can see myself teaching in that type of environment. And the professors here just inspired us as educators to think about what was going to come next. And Mitch Janzik, when we read Black Ants and Buddhists, this idea of cultural diversity and the celebration of where we come from and teaching each other about where we come from. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it, and so the coming out of Woodring with those type of fundamentals was priceless. So I know it's kind of cliche, but one of my favorite poems is the Robert Frost Road Not Taken, and it just speaks to my journey in education. I have taken the road less traveled, and so when I finished my TESOL degree in Querétaro in 2009, I was inspired by the Spanish culture or the Mexican culture and really what it offered for me, and having that experience for the first time of living abroad, living with a family that didn't speak the same language I did. And for me, it was, okay, how am I going to adapt in a world where I don't speak this language? And so I had to put myself in that situation. So I came back from Querétaro in September of 2009. The economy had taken a decline. There wasn't a lot of teaching jobs available. And so my option was, and my parents are awesome people, but my options were to live with them and try to substitute But that's not what I wanted for myself. I wanted my own classroom. I wanted to implement all of the wonderful things I had just spent 3.5 years studying. So I went on to a website called Teachers-Teachers, and there's jobs nationally. And through that, I was called and offered an interview down on the Mexican-Arizona border. So my mother and I took the trip. We flew into Tucson. We stayed at a Motel 6 that was right next to a prison. And my mom told me a few years down the road that in the middle of the night, she said, I'm just going to take her and we're going back to Washington and no one will know, no one will follow us, right? But I ended up having that opportunity to interview and really the idea of just having my own classroom is what drove me. So I ended up accepting the position. I moved down to Bisbee, Arizona, and then I drove down to Douglas where I worked. The school was enclosed. It was fenced in, about 15 feet tall. You couldn't get in the school. The playground were literally rocks and dirt. The kids did not have a grass field. They did not have all of the amenities that American children living in different parts of the United States have, those amenities that are offered. So through that experience, I didn't realize at the time that there was well, I didn't ask the right questions in my interview, which I'll talk about later, but there was a scripted reading program, and I was expected to tap my pencil while I said the vocabulary words, and my mom came down to visit me, and I couldn't even look at her in the face because she knew that we were just going to look at each other and die, because she knew that's not what I knew to be best practice. So from that experience, I learned so much, but I knew I needed to move on and move to a school district that could facilitate my dream. So at that point, I ended up getting into the Bisbee Public Schools, which is the town that I lived in. And I taught a 4th and 5th grade academic challenge program my second year as a teacher, which was a pretty amazing opportunity. And through that opportunity, we cultivated a school garden, we collected rainwater, we analyzed the moisture content in the soil. My students wrote business letters to local businesses to receive materials to make our garden beds out of the different things. And we analyzed what structure retains the most amount of moisture, which, as you can assume, in the desert is pretty important. So all these opportunities really came through me having that foundation of how to integrate all of those content areas. I took my students on an overnight camping trip where we learned about birds of prey and rattlesnakes, and down there it's this conception that we want to get rid of the rattlesnakes. Well, my kids were learning, no, they're such an important part of the ecosystem here. And we got to touch a Gila monster, which most people have never even seen one or know that they exist. And so just these fabulous opportunities. The one thing I can say is that my students changed me. You know, I went into this thinking I was going to change kids. My kids changed me. And I made relationships that I will never forget. So at that time, after the 3 years in Arizona, I really wanted to come back and be with my family. So I ended up coming back and working in a town called Woodland, Washington. I was finishing my master's degree. And there I learned an experience about working with migrant populations in Washington state and the diversity that Washington can offer. So through that experience, I also at Woodland at the time, finishing my master's, I really wanted to seek out my literacy credential. I really wanted the opportunity to engage in those literacy practices, and I had received my reading endorsement and wanted to pursue that. So at that time, I applied at Highline School District at White Center Heights. White Center Heights is a very diverse place and offers many opportunities, and Highline in general. And going into Highline, I didn't realize how much of my vision and mission is aligned with Highline's. And one of the things that we're doing right now in Highline is we have a strategic plan, and they're lofty goals, but they're goals that we believe in. our superintendent has put out that 19 out of our 20 third graders will meet benchmark by 2017. 19 out of 20 sixth graders will pass algebra by the time they go to ninth grade to be successful in high school. And so when I started engaging in this idea of, oh, my school district needs to align with my personal vision to help facilitate what we're doing as a collective school district. And the fact that we really want our kids to be bilingual and biliterate by 2016. Most school districts in the country are not putting out lofty goals like that. So it's this opportunity to really engage in the leadership in education right now. So I just want to show you this slide. I will just admit I was a little naive. I didn't know how much diversity there really is in Washington State. I grew up in a little town called Longview, and everyone it was a blue-collar town. So when I came to Highline, I worked in White Center Heights, and over 40 languages are spoken within a 3-mile radius. As you can see from the pictures, I looked very different from my students. And I started the first White Center Heights softball girls team, which was great. These girls had never even played competitive sports. They didn't know what that was. Okay, no, you have to run around the base fast now, you know, so teaching them all those things about American culture. So to wrap this up, what I'd like to share with you today, and today it will be free, but you can buy my book in 3 years when I publish it. But as graduates of Western, you are coming out with these fundamental skills that are already going to put you in a leadership role. You can walk into an interview and feel confident about what you're going to say to answer those questions. And you already have those buzzwords that administrators are looking for. And so my tip for you today is to really think about what is your mission and what is your vision. Mine is all about equity and closing that achievement gap. It's actually part of my administrator evaluation, but it's closing that achievement gap and bringing kids the opportunities that they can succeed and be anything that they want to be. So, special thanks to a few people. My father and my mother have been there every step of the way. I could not have been on this journey without such amazing support. So they are two people that I love dearly. And my best friend is here since I was 9 years old. She was my college roommate and encouraged me every step of the way. And Mitch Janzik is a very important and holds a dear place in my heart. He fought for me every step of the way. When my student teaching wasn't working out the way I expected, he was right there for me and supported me and told me, "You're in this to win it, Megan." And I want to thank the Woodring professors who are here. Your dedication to inspire students still lives with me 7 years later. Thank you so much.